people, and welcome to Colleen's Adventures. It is me, Colleen, as usual. Nose is itchy, don't mind me. Today's topic is going to be about how we found out I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 5, so that would make it 30 years with the disease. Now, before I get started with my journey on it, let me show you my shirt. It says, I do not like diabetes here or there. I do not like diabetes anywhere. I love this shirt. This shirt is, I have one of few diabetic shirts, so it's pretty neat. Nose is itchy today, don't mind me. All right, so as I said, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 5. So it's 30 years for me because I am 35. And basically, I'm a little young. I was young, still am young, but I was basically, I had lost a lot of weight, my mother said. I was peeing a lot. I was just very, very, very sick. So she, after a couple days, or I think it was after a couple days of noticing all these symptoms, she took me to the doctor and they immediately took me to the hospital. I think my blood sugar was near 800, but they were so surprised that there was no acid in my system, because when your sugar goes that high, we diabetics can suffer from diabetic ketoacidosis, which basically, you should look it up, but basically it just states that how I phrase it, it's acid eating you alive. That's what it comes down to, because your body is out of whack. It's missing fluids. It's just not a normal blood sugar like a usual person that doesn't have the diabetes, So yes, so I was in the hospital for almost a week, I believe. And they had, taught my mother how to basically, how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, how to, administrate my insulin, and how to, give it to me. And I was at this point where I was just like, okay, let's go. I remember walking up to the nurse's station with my mother, because she would be like, is it time for her, insulin? And they would say yes or no. And then I was just so ready. I was like, yeah, let's go. I do remember that. Yeah, so it's been quite a journey since since I was diagnosed with the disease. It's, I had to change my whole life. You had the insulin, which when I was diagnosed, I don't know if you diabetics or non-diabetics that have heard of it, the insulin that I have to usually took was Novolin R and Novolin NPH. Now, from what I remember, Novolin R was basically like a fast-acting insulin, but my mother somehow mixed it in the syringe, so it was all like mixed together, and then that was like the only 2 insulins at that time when I was diagnosed of what to, administer, what to survive on. And then at that time, I think it was 1990 is the year I was diagnosed, when I was 5, like I said. They didn't take an account of carbs. It was like, somehow they didn't figure out at that time that, excuse me, that carbs is basically a backup of sugar. It was like, if it said 0 grams of sugar, I was allowed to eat it. Or anything under 5 grams of sugar, I was allowed to eat it. Anything over that would mess with my sugar. And at that time, with no carbs and no this and no that, I mean, carbs weren't, put into, a diabetic's life yet. Like, it was just, you read the thing, if it said 0 sugars or under 5 grams of sugar, I was allowed to have it. So therefore, I think years later, of course, that's when they figured out that, hey, carbs affects a diabetic sugar. Carbs affects a normal person like it does, but carbs hurts a diabetic more than your usual person, So, yeah, it was just a lot of adjusting. And so my mother was great. My parents were divorced at that time. And basically my mother was, gung-ho, get her daughter all healthy, be there, learn this, learn that. And then, my father really didn't want any part of it. He thought, may he rest in peace, he's been dead for 19 years. Well, it'll be 20 years in November this year. But my dad wasn't really there for me to learn about the diabetes. I think it was more like he was scared. He was scared of the disease because he thought in his brain that, brain up here, not here, that the brain basically, that I had to be a couch potato. I mean, there were weekends that I was at his house and he would freak out if I'd want to go outside and play, you know. He was scared of it. So my mother was gung-ho and learning what to do. So yeah, my diagnosis was, you know, I lost a lot of weight. I was, you know, peeing a lot and basically looking very sick. Took me to the hospital doctors. Then I went to the hospital where they, you know, did a blood glucose check with blood, I guess. Again, at the time I was 5. I don't really remember much, but it was, you know, it was a struggle. It was, and I think my sugar was near 800. They were surprised there was no acid in my system that was eating me alive, which was very interesting. So that is my little tidbit of my diagnosis back in 1990. Boy, have things changed. I got coughs today, don't mind me. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope, you know, I told you a little bit about my diagnosis, you know. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I post another video. Until next time, treat everybody how you want to be treated, and thanks for listening. Bye, guys.